Coming in for the Patricia look. People want him to keep the look as the head coach, which is the big bushy beard, hat backwards, sweatshirt, for what it's worth. We asked if this is an issue. In corporate America, and for the most part, coaches dress a certain way. This guy has a unique look. Does that matter? Should he change it? For the most part, people say no. They want him to keep it. This is of the Detroit Lions coach-elect. The presumed head coach of the Detroit Lions, Matt Patricia. 248-539-9797. Ticket text 97136. Gator, we debated the logic behind getting a New England influence, more of a New England model going on here with bringing in another New England guy. Is that smart, trying to duplicate the New England model, or is it fool's gold because New England is Brady with a dash of Belichick? Is trying to follow the New England model brilliant or foolish? 248-539-9797. What do you think? Are you more worried about the New England failures, the guys that fell off the Belichick tree who failed, or does that even matter?
I'd like to say that it doesn't matter because I think every team is different, every coach is going to be different, and every circumstance you go into is different. You know, reasons why guys may have failed in other places could easily be chalked up to, well, they had bad GMs there, and those GMs didn't provide the coaches with enough talent. And typically when these coaches go away to those other teams, those are bad teams. Otherwise, they wouldn't be looking for new head coaches, right? So you got to give them a little breathing room. And McDaniels only had a couple years to prove himself in Denver before they cut the cord there. Romeo Crennel had a few years before his cord was cut. And I think you look back at the GM Scott Pioli and what he did in Kansas City, and they went from worst to first right away and then just regressed back in his last 2 years, including winning only 2 games his last year with Kansas City before he was fired. I think you could chalk a lot of it up to just bad marriages. I think the Lions with Bob Quinn, even though he came from New England, he may have learned the right things that you're supposed to learn at New England. Because we can sit here objectively and say, all right, first 2 drafts, he's drafted well. And in free agency, did he get the right players? I don't know if he got the right players. At the time, I sure thought he did last offseason. But guys got hurt, and this team was decimated because of it. And injuries happen to every team in the league, so it's not unique to Detroit. But I have full confidence in Bob Quinn with what he does at drafting. So I think the opportunity to come here and succeed is high. And I like what Patricia's done with the Patriots defense. I fully admit that it's a Bill Belichick defense, and it may not really matter who's calling the shots there on defense, but he was calling the shots. Matt Patricia was. It's not just like he's sitting there moving his lips in front of cameras just for the sake of looking pretty as he does it with a beard. I don't know how pretty he looks. He's called the
defenses since 2009.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it.
He knows what he's doing. Now, is it under the tutelage and guidance of Bill Belichick? Yeah, but I want that. I'm glad he learned from Belichick. What we learned watching the Patriots play this year and continue to learn is that defense is actually very good. They'll give up yards, but they don't give up points. And when they need to shut you down, they shut you down. They have a lead going into the second half, it's over because the defense rises up and they'll do what they have to do. You look at that epic collapse that the Falcons had last year, part of that is because the Patriots offense got going. And Tom Brady and company, yeah, they made plays. They had it happening. But the other part is you can't move forward offensively if your defense doesn't help you out. And the defense shut down the Falcons in the second half of that game, allowing them the opportunity to get better. So there's a lot more that I like about Matt Patricia than I don't like, because the stuff that I don't like is unknown stuff. And there's a lot of unknown. Look, there's going to be unknown with a guy who's never had a head coaching position before. And that's one of my number one, I don't know if it's a flag, but it's the one thing that I have that goes against him. It's like, look, I don't know what he is as a head coach because he's never been a head coach before. But if I'm going to judge him based on how his defense performs for him, and take that with a grain of salt, knowing it's a Bill Belichick defense, I like it.
248-539-9797. Basketball, the Pistons lose yesterday on Martin Luther King Day. Stan Van Gundy not happy after that game. Michigan beats Maryland as the Wolverines come from behind, then come from ahead, then come from behind again in the end to beat Maryland in a just win it any way you can game. Big Ten's got some weird scheduling quirks this year, and Michigan had to face one of them. Michigan State Saturday, Maryland on Monday. But sometimes you play a game where you don't even care what it looks like. Just win. And by the way, Muhammad Ali, Abdur-Rahman were cold-blooded on those last 2 free throws. Like, it was almost like there was no beads of sweat. He had that look on his face like he just didn't have any semblance of pressure on him. Michigan State fans, we've asked in basketball, are you more worried, pissed, or confident? What best describes you right now with your team? Sincerely worried about the team as they stand right now, pissed in the big picture, you just don't lose to Michigan, or confident as in, who cares about this? It's a typical Izzo midseason slump. 248-539-9797. Like I said, tons of feedback here of people who don't mind the look of Matt Patricia as their head coach. We'll read some of that coming up. Let's go to Carl in Farmington. You're on 97 with the ticket. Hi, Carl.
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
All right. So this MSU team, you guys are trying to treat them like they're Kentucky or Duke or North Carolina, and they've never been that. You know what I'm saying? So when you lose to, like, Kentucky, like when Kentucky lost, it was a big thing because you had all these NBA players, and it was Kentucky. I mean, I guess when you go with basketball, it's a different thing when you think about the more prominent basketball schools. And Michigan State, yes, they do get the Final Fours and all that, but, you know, a lot of them's been, like, when they've been ranked lower or maybe 3rd or 4th or 5th seed. And, you know, they had a lot to overcome and everything else. But the thing, like, Mike Valeni is forgetting, and he's talking about you got to beat Michigan by 20 and all that. This is college basketball. The best of the best lose. So, you know what I'm saying? Everybody gets upset or everybody loses. So, to me, you got to wait to see what you got towards the end. You know, have a Big Ten tournament, see where you stand there, and then that's when you can really severely judge. So,
well, I mean, look, obviously we're not going to be able to judge when the season's over right now. So we're going to talk about where they are right now and where they think they're headed. But I see what you're saying, that and I think you're saying a lot of what we are, which is seasons are filled with slumps. This is a pretty evident slump, and one that is making people really uncomfortable. It's 3 games, one where they kind of got housed in Columbus, looked really struggled against Rutgers, and then lost in a non-fluky way in any way at home against Michigan. That doesn't happen that much. And although Beeline's been beating them more lately, but the way they did it was surprising. Michigan State's got problems right now, and it's a matter of how quickly do they fix them. And do they do any irreparable damage? Because you know what you don't want to blow? It's not about the seed. You don't want to blow playing in Detroit. First couple of rounds are in Detroit.
That'd be
and
nice.
if they mess around too much, they won't be in Detroit. And if you're Michigan, you think, hey, maybe we get to Detroit. Because of the pod system, they try and keep local teams in. It's probably a race right now of these 2 teams trying to get to Detroit. And I don't care if you're a 3-seed or a 1-seed or an 8-seed. I'd rather be in Detroit.
No, you're absolutely. You'd rather be in Detroit.
248-539-9797.